a scream in the night, and the city's jaws snap shut. It's a labyrinth of deceit, where shadows don't just hide, they hunt. One wrong move, and you're swallowed whole. I'm Jack Carver, Private Eye, a man who walks the razor's edge between truth and trouble with nothing but a 38 and a stubborn streak. When Lila Monroe stepped into my office, her eyes burning with secrets and her brother lost in the grip of a kingpin, I knew this case would drag me into the city's blackest depths, ready to plunge into a world where trust is a death sentence and danger is the only pulse. Hold tight, this one's gonna bleed. The city was a beast, its neon veins pulsing under a July sky heavy with humidity. My office was a dump peeling paint, a desk carved with old regrets, and a rotary phone that only rang when the world was about to tilt. Lila Monroe walked in like a storm warning, her red dress a slash of fire against the gloom. Her brother, Tommy, was missing, last seen at the docks, caught in the web of Vincent Russo, a kingpin whose name made hardened men flinch. Lila's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her fear, rage, and something deeper, like she knew more than she was saying. She slid an envelope of cash across my desk, but it wasn't the money that hooked me. It was the way she said Tommy's name, like it was the only thing keeping her from breaking. I hit the streets, the city's pulse thrumming under my boots. The docks were my first stop, a maze of rusted cranes and rotting piers where the river's stench clung like a bad memory. The Rusty Anchor was a dive bar where sailors and crooks swapped lies over watered-down whiskey. The bartender, a guy named Gus with a glass eye and a permanent scowl, knew Tommy, said he'd been running crates for Russo, cargo that never hit the books. I pressed for more, slipping a 20 across the bar. Gus leaned in, his good eye darting. "Talk to Frankie Knuckles," he muttered, "Russo's muscle. But watch your back, Frankie, don't talk nice." I left with a name and a bad feeling, the kind that sticks like damp rot. Frankie Knuckles wasn't hard to find. He was holed up in a backroom poker game at a joint called the Blue Cobra, a place where the air was thick with smoke and bad intentions. Frankie was a slab of a man, 6 feet of menace, his knuckles scarred like a butcher's map of pain. I dropped Tommy's name, casual, like it was just another Tuesday. Frankie's laugh was a low growl, his eyes glinting over a fan of cards. Tommy Monroe, kid owed Russo 50 large, thought he could skim off the top to square it. Check Pier 17 if you're feeling brave. Carver, he nodded to his boys, and I was out on the sidewalk with a bruised ego and a lead. But I saw it in Frankie's face, a flicker of unease. He wasn't scared of me, he was scared of what I'd find. Pier 17 was a ghost town at midnight, the warehouse a hulking shadow against the river. The air inside was heavy, reeking of oil and something sour like fear gone stale. My flashlight caught Tommy's jacket in a corner, bloodstained, crumpled next to a crate marked Russo Imports. No body, no answers, just a scrap of paper under a Polita shipping manifest, coded with Tommy's initials scrawled in the margin. Whatever he'd been moving, it wasn't just drugs. I tracked down a dock worker, Sal, a twitchy guy with sweat stains and eyes that wouldn't meet mine. A 20 and a hard stare got him talking. Russo wasn't dealing in heroin or cocky, he was moving military-grade tech, the kind of stuff that could shift power in the wrong hands. Tommy had gotten greedy, tried to lift a piece to clear his debt. Kid didn't know what he was messing with, Sal whispered. Nobody does. He didn't know if Tommy was alive, but he'd heard about a shipment leaving tomorrow night on a ship called Black Star. I needed to get close to Russo. His penthouse was a fortress of glass and steel, all sharp edges and cold ambition. I bluffed my way past security, claiming I had dirt on arrival. Russo met me in his office, a man in his 50s with a tailored suit and a smile that could cut glass. He poured whiskey, offered me a glass like we were old friends. I mentioned Tommy, watching his face, not a twitch. "The docks are dangerous," he said, swirling his drink. "Accidents happen," but his eyes flicked to a safe in the corner, just for a second. I pushed harder, asking about the crates. The tech, his smile tightened, and I knew I'd hit a nerve. 2 goons appeared from nowhere, and I left with a busted lip, a warning to stay out of Russo's business, and a certainty that safe held answers. Back in my office, the city's hum was a dull roar through the window. I pieced it together over a cigarette and a shot of bourbon. Tommy wasn't just a runner, he'd stumbled into Russo's big play, something worth killing for. The manifest pointed to the Black Star, leaving at 3 a.m. If Tommy was alive, he'd be there either as leverage or a loose end. I called Lila, told her to stay put. Her voice was iron, but it cracked at the edges. "Find him, Jack," she said, "please." She wanted to come to see this through. I told her no, not yet. This was my fight now, and the docks at night were no place for her. The docks after midnight were a different beast, all shadows and silence, the air thick with menace. The Black Star loomed like a predator, its crew moving like ghosts under flickering lights. I slipped aboard, my 38 heavy in my coat, sticking to the shadows. The hold was stacked with crates, some marked with the same code from the manifest. I cracked one open, circuit boards, wires, tech I couldn't name but knew was worth more than my life. Footsteps echoed, and I ducked behind a container. Frankie's voice cut through, low and mean, barking orders. Then another voice, Dami's weak but alive, pleading, "I didn't mean to, Frankie. Tell Russo I'll make it right." They had him tied up, a bruised bargaining chip for Russo's next deal. My heart pounded like a jackhammer. I waited, gripping my gun, counting Frankie's men 3, all armed, all mean. Frankie was distracted, yelling at a crewman about a crate. My moment came when he turned his back. I moved fast, cracking the butt of my .38 across his skull. He dropped like a sack of bricks, but his men were quicker than I expected. One caught my jaw with a fist, and I hit the deck, tasting blood. Another grabbed for his gun, but I fired a shot into the air, the cracks scattering them like roaches. I hauled Tommy to his feet, his wrists bound, his face a mess of bruises. "Move," I hissed, dragging him toward the gangway. Bullets pinged off metal, one grazing my shoulder, hot and sharp. We stumbled into the night, my car a shadow in the fog. I floored it, the docks fading in the rear view. Tommy slumped beside me, breathing but barely. We holed up in a safe house, a dingy motel on the city's edge. Tommy was alive, but he wasn't talking, not yet. He was scared, not just of Russo but of what he'd seen in those crates. "It's bigger than you think. Jack," he mumbled, his voice raw. "Russo's selling to people who don't care who gets hurt." I didn't push him. He needed rest, and I needed a plan. Russo's empire was still humming, and I'd just kicked the hornet's nest. Lila met us at dawn, her face pale but fierce. She hugged Tommy, but her eyes locked on mine. "What now?" she asked. I didn't have an answer. Not yet. The city doesn't give up its secrets easy, and Russo wasn't done with us. I went back to my office. The city's pulse, a dull throb outside. The safe in Russo's penthouse was the key proof of his deals. Maybe enough to bring him down. But getting to it meant going through his army. And I was one man with a gun and a grudge. Tommy's words echoed, "Bigger than you think." This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about what Russo was unleashing, and who'd pay the price if I didn't stop it. The city is a cruel mistress, and I'm no hero, just a guy who doesn't know when to quit. Tommy's safe, for now, but Russo's out there, his shadow long and lethal. The fight's not over. It's barely begun. Want to ride shotgun through these neon streets, where every corner hides a new kind of hell. Subscribe, like, follow, because this city's got more blood to spill, and I'm not done chasing its shadows.